Good evening, Blue Abroad world. Hope you're doing really well. I'm here with my main man, Joey. How you doing, Joey?
How are we, mate?
Can he complain? Can he complain?
No, I believe that on a day like today. I'm going to kick off before you go ahead and thank the members, mate. Everyone, it's Dan's birthday today. He's 21. Wishes he was 21. I don't sing happy birthday. We'd lose so many people off the stream. I'm not much of a singer, so cheers to Dan for his birthday today. Hopefully we can cap it off with what I would have assumed would be a good day with a good show, mate. So cheers.
Cheers. Thank you very much, everyone. And if you're just joining us, thank you very much for that lovely intro.
I want to see happy birthdays in the comments, guys. Come on, give it up for Pom. Everyone loves Pom.
Well, cheers, guys. I appreciate it. And there's no better way to spend, for me, my birthday than with you guys. I mean, my extended family. So, do you know what I mean? Thank you very much, Fallen Sports. Have a good 60th. I'm not far off there. I'm just under halfway. But as always, this is the Bluemour show. It's where we cover the weird and wonderful world of trade and all the rumours that are circulating social media. First of all, as you guys are giving me a happy birthday wish and throwing me off my usual calmness, I'll give you a big thank you to all the members of the show, everyone that donates and is a monthly member. Without you, these magical things are not possible. And also a big shout out to you who just support the channel with a like, a sub, a comment. All this means so much and it helps this show go from strength to strength. That is so tough to do, I tell you, after 2 beers. But anyway, we'll crack straight into...
Before we get in, mate, Dane Rawlings has just given us a comment. Happy birthday, Dan. Peter Siddle got a hat-trick on his birthday. How did you go? And I can tell you, Dane, we've got a hat-trick of rumours tonight. That's how Pom's backed up. So let's get stuck in, mate.
Well, first, we've got a little bit of breaking news from my main man, Joey, who has been sniffing. And this is a big tick to the Blue Abroad audience because we all gave this a 1 star. And Joey is going to give world-breaking exclusive on a rumour.
Don't know about that, but I got some very good mail today. Jordan De Goey is going to be staying at the Pies next year at this stage. From what it sounds like, he used other clubs to posture to get more cash from the Pies, and from what I'm understanding, from what I'm hearing, he's not leaving. So he won't be at the Blues next year, which we all said. I think it was 2 shows ago now, and it's a good start for the Bluemour Mill. How good's that?
Hey, the Bluemour Mill jury, 1-1. Look at that! Look at that! Easy darts.
That's it.
Well, the first rumor we've got going, which we've had a good nickname, it's called Waitley's Few Too Many Wines, and this one comes from part radio, part Big Footy. And Bluemour Mill tells us, I'm hearing some big news regarding a 4-club trade. Orazio Fantasia to Port, Ollie Wines to Melbourne, Clayton Oliver to Carlton, and Matty Kennedy to Essendon. So, as usual, guys, talk amongst yourselves, shoot out some questions to us and your thoughts. And Joey, you start us off. What do you think of that banter trade?
Yeah, I saw this on the Bluemour discussion thread on Big Footy pop up as I was scrolling during the week, but I didn't realise that Jared Waitley ran with it on SEN as well, which is what you've just told me, Pom. So, which is interesting, very, very interesting, because it gives, a little bit more credibility to the rumour. Now, there's a lot of moving parts there, and thing is, so before everyone blows up in the comments around how that's unfair and the value doesn't make sense, obviously there've been more moving parts to that deal. Like Kennedy to the Bombers and us getting Oliver is nowhere near equal. So I would be assuming that there'd be draft picks involved, there'd be other players involved, there'd be swaps of picks and whatnot. So the crux of the deal focused on the players involved. For me, we'd have to still give up pick 7 at a minimum, if not a future first, if we're bringing Oliver in. I would dare say both of those would go to Essendon. One of those would go to Essendon, or or Port, and the other to go to Port, and then Melbourne and Essendon would work out pick swaps. The other player that could work into this is obviously Adam Sard as well. So it may be a package with Sard and Oliver coming to us, and Essendon gets a first rounder. Melbourne gets Wines. Port get the first rounder as well as Fantasia. So there's a lot of different ways that could play out. For me, it's firstly the Oliver talk is heating up massively over the last couple of days, like ridiculously. Jared ran with it, obviously, as part of this. It's been said that he's not coming. It's been said that he's already told us he wants to come. We've got mail Pom, that it's quite strong. So look, who knows? Who knows if this 4-club trade could go down? If it were proposed and we got Oliver as part of the deal and we weren't giving up overs and maybe Sard came across as well and we gave up Kennedy, why would you not do it? The credibility of the rumour obviously has ties with SEN and Waitley now, which is massive. What are your thoughts, Pom? It shocks me. It shocks me that it had so much traction in the first place and that it actually made it to something like SEN.
Well, to clarify, Gerald said that he believes all 4 of these would ensue from a trade. Now, and as Debbie just says, there is a little thing. Sam Edmund came out and quashed it and said that it was fanciful, were his words on it. What I look at this, right? If this was a 4-way trade, and let's just say that there was some pick swaps involved to make it fair, I can't see Essendon for the life of me, if Ollie Wines is available, them not saying cut Carlton out of this deal and say, right, you want Fantasia, you're willing to give up Wines, let's cut a deal on that. So for me, I think all 4 of these rumours have a basis in reality. Individually, Fantasia to Port, I can see happening. Oliver, the more we hear about it, I can see happening. I'd imagine if they did lose Oliver, they'd want a Wines as a replacement for me. So I could see all these if there were individual trades. Maybe there's merit. But for me, I think this is... hence why I said Waitley's on the Wines. I just think if we're talking about this as a rumour, Essendon wanted pick 7, my firstborn, and any rights to my future firstborns, and Harry Mackay for Sard. So I can't see them being so generous to this for me. I mean, it's a very generous deal.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But I think this is where, if it were to happen, that they would end up with pick 7, right? So maybe Melbourne are keen to move Oliver on with these attitude issues that we've heard about from the best and fairest and whatnot. Maybe there has been a falling out with the club and it's irreparable. And maybe if these clubs get involved, Melbourne's saying, well, we need a replacement. Wines is up for grabs. Essendon wants pick 7 as part of the Sard deal. Port want Fantasia. Like, everything sort of links, right? So maybe Essendon do end up with pick 7 as part of this, plus Matt Kennedy, and only really give up Sard. Like, I think that they would take that as a standalone, right? From a Carlton perspective, we still need to give up another future first. So that future first potentially goes to Port as part of the Fantasia deal. And then it's essentially just a straight swap for Oliver and Wines at that point, right? So it could work from that standpoint. There's a lot of moving parts, but I can see how that could potentially work if that's the path that we're going to go down. And what it does for us is it locks in 2 players that we've been reported to be after for a first and future first, plus Matt Kennedy. And Pom, we've spoken about plenty of times that the fact that we're going to have to give up a player this trade period. I think we're dreaming if we think that maybe 2 of Dow, Kennedy, Sauce, O'Brien, Stocker. For me, 2 of those leave in this trade period. I can't see us coming out of the off season with all of those still on our list. It doesn't make sense. So yeah, from that perspective, the mega deal would make sense in theory, right? And how many times in the past have we seen these mega deals thrown up in the air, whether it's a rumor or whether it's, reported, and it falls through? It's so hard to get done when you've got that many moving parts and that many clubs that are trying to play the game, because all four clubs will want more. And especially with Essendon involved, Dodoro is going to want even more than what's being offered as part of this deal. As you said, he may even ask for Wines as part of this and try to shut Melbourne out of the deal, which would completely shut us out from the Oliver perspective. So too many moving parts for me to see this getting done in this way. If you look at the parts individually, absolutely, it's the talk of the town. So for me, I can't see it getting done in the four-club trade individually, potentially.
100%. Well, let's have a look what the lovely audience have to say about this. We've got Justin Ryland, a foreign rivals fan. Delusional, you blokes. Remember, Justin, you've got to play nice. And, you know, when you're posing in your profile picture, it's never good if you're a posing male to fire shots at a Pom. It'll end badly for you, mate, especially after he's had a few drinks. So I'll give you a hall pass this one, my friend. Helena, lovely to see you, Helena. You comment all the time. Merit staying to Bombers was one of your comments, but the comment I was looking at was, I just hope trade period doesn't turn out like the last. People wanting to come over and no deals get done, my biggest fear. For me, I think if we just look at this trade period, and I'll answer that in the way of this, for me, I think that if we just get Williams and Sard, I would say that that's close to our best trade period since Judd came through the door. So for me, I think really the fact we're talking about a third player, I'm not really that bothered, if I'm honest with you. Like, I'm excited, but to me, if we went to the draft, we picked 7, or we traded it and we managed to get Sard with 7 and we traded for 15 and we took someone in the draft, I'd be made up with that, because I think Sard and Williams are absolute huge gets.
For sure.
So what we'll do is give us a star rating, and in the audience, I want you to give 0 to 5 star rating. On 5, it's happening. 0, no chance. I'm going to include 0 this time.
And the rating is on the mega deal, right? It's not on the individual part. So
all 4 of the clubs involved in a trade deal.
Correct. For me, Pom, like I said, I think the mega deal itself is probably a 2 at best, if not a 1.5. I just can't see it getting done with so many moving parts. But individually, if you were to break it down, all of those and any of those could happen, definitely. So, yeah, I can say early on, 1's 0.5, 0.2, 0.1, 2, 2, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0. So I can see early on that I think everyone's going to be in agreement, and I would assume, Pommy, with your level-headedness, mate, that you're not going to go big on this one.
I reckon you've got more chance of me getting a haircut tomorrow in Clyde when I've been told by every barbers and hairdressers it's a 3-day turnaround. So I'm going to give it my first ever 0. I reckon we have more chance of Pom having a shaved head this time next week than we have of that happening. And looking in the audience, I would say a rough Pom guesstimate of 0.4 would be the average, I reckon. So, Gerald, if you're watching, complete banter, my friend. The jury has spoken, and I'd never go against our lovely audience. I'll just pick out a few comments. I think this one here by Sonia. Sonia, great friend of the channel. She always comments. It's great to see the girls. Notice how finally no one wants to leave us. That is something I have noticed, that this has been kind of a watershed moment for Carlton. Everyone's signing on. No one requesting to leave. There's no negativity in the media either. Like, apart from that sauce thing that will brush over, there's been no negativity in the audience at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Sonia also asked, if it's the same Sonia, when does trade week officially begin? It doesn't begin until, so I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Pommy, but I think free agency starts Monday week. So not this Monday, the Monday coming. And then trade period will start on that Wednesday or Thursday from memory in the same week.
Yeah, you are spot on. We have got only, what is it now? It's the 4th of November. So we've got, a week and a bit. Big shout out to Sam. with the $15 donation. That's great of you, mate. I really appreciate it. Sard and Williams will be done very quickly. Then all we have the time to work on the mystery player. However, watch this space for Merritt and Kelly at the end. Well, stick around, Hassam, because we've got an absolute ripper for our third trade rumour. Well, obviously, we can officially say that trade rumour is not going to happen. But number 2, where do we think on this? And throw your comments in on what you guys think. Carlton Sparkle for Narco. That's very clever, that. And I'd love to meet the guy that comes up with these things. Now, sources close to the club, Bluemour says, tell me we will be offering a third rounder for Quinton Narco. So this was a trade rumour that's been plucked this week from my wonderful little spies and squirrels. And a lot of you have been asking about Quinton Narco. So tell me, Joey, and the audience, what do you think of that?
Yeah, this ties in well. We just, I'm sure many of you would have seen the spotlight post that we did earlier in the week. Actually, it was only a couple of days ago on Narco. Yeah, he hasn't been offered a contract by the Cats, and I think he's been told to explore his options at this point. So he's out of contract. He hasn't been delisted yet, but he may. I think we'll get a better understanding of that post-grand final for the Cats, whether or not he's still on the list. If he gets delisted, he needs to be picked up instantly, whether it's by a WA club, whether it's by us, whoever it is. This kid needs to be on the list. Now, his numbers so far, and I'll just go through a few that were mentioned in the spotlight, but he's only played 17 games in his career. He's 22 years old from memory. 22. He'll be 23 at round 1 next year, so he's still quite young. Quite inexperienced. He's kicked 10 goals across those games. He played 5 games this year, predominantly through the midfield. And obviously with Geelong's midfield, it's very difficult to hold your spot this year. They haven't had too many key injuries for kids to come through. You've seen guys like Jordan Clark as well, who broke onto the scene last year, that have been left out of the side. So who's also been thrown up to go to another club in this offseason. So for Narkle, I mean, he averages, as a midfielder, he's averaged 13.7 disposals over his career. His disposal efficiency is around 71%, which, by the way, is 4% higher than our whole team in 2020. So it's still an improvement. And his goal rate for a midfielder is above average. But for me, and I'd like to see your thoughts on this, Pom. If we recruit this guy, he's not going to be a midfielder. He is going to be a small forward. He's going to be electric because he's electric. He's got absolutely phenomenal breakaway speed from stoppages, obviously, but he's really fleet-footed and he can work his way through traffic. And I think if you're looking for a small forward, this guy fits that bill from that perspective. He's got a year where he'll learn from Eddie. He'll play alongside Fisher, Gibbons. Maybe another small forward comes in for a late pick. I've mentioned Jared Cameron many times, and I'm still on his bandwagon massively. I think with those guys rotating through, and he can learn a little bit of that craft, he's got all the attributes to become a really prolific small forward if he were to set himself to that task. I can't see him playing in our midfield too much. Maybe it's an 80-20 split between forward and mid. But if this guy's up for grabs, if it's a third rounder, fourth rounder, fifth rounder, whatever it takes, you take him. If he's delisted, you take him. For me, he's got too much raw talent to just be left by the wayside.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. I mean, for me, and when I look at this trade, I think exactly like you. I couldn't see him getting the midfield time he wants. Now, everyone I've talked to at Geelong is saying that he wants to play midfield. Now, maybe Teague has a word with him like Zach Fisher and says, do you want to go and play in the small forward? I'll give you a small forwards position. We believe that's where your talent are and you can move back like he's promised Fisher should a position come available. But for me, I see it both ways with Narco. Like exactly as Sarah Poost has said here, how often do you actually get something good out of a third rounder? Your chances of getting someone who plays 100 games in a third rounder is about 22%. So it's not very high. So it's probably a good throwaway pick. If you're going to throw a third, you're probably going to, at least you've got someone you know who can play at this level. But a lot of people saying WA, I would have thought for me, if I was Narco, I'd want to play midfield. And I don't think we can offer him that. And I think as Dane says here, there's better targets out there. Cameron asks Castagna. I'd like us to see, if we are going to go out and get a small forward, for me, actually get one that has played small forward all of his career, is a natural small forward, like your Camerons, like your Arts, like your Higgins. For me, I think he's too good a player not to go. I think he's too good a player to come to another club and wait for his chance. I couldn't see how you could play him small forward over everyone else when fit until he's earned his stripes in the VFL. Because to me, I admit he's a brilliant player. I'm a big fan. I thought he tore us apart 2019 in the wet. That's been mentioned a few times. Phenomenal player. But I'm kind of at the stage, and I don't know what the fan base feel like, that I don't want projects anymore. I don't want projects. I don't want what ifs. I want I knows from now on. I don't want to take punts. I haven't got the time personally to wait on these players and hope they can change positions. I want someone to come through the door like an Eddie Betts and be like, right, you're a small forward. I know what I'm going to get. I know what I see, and let's do it. So for me, I think if it's a small forward, I would say that that's our major requirement. And I'd like to think someone like Stengel, who is a natural small forward, who has shown enough for me to play as a small forward. He's doing it in a rubbish team. He's coming to a team that's got three better tall forwards, better midfield, better everything. I think for me, Stengel would be the player I'd go for me personally. But
yeah, I mean, if you're looking just to like as a permanent small forward, I think you're right. The way I also look at it though is Murphy's coming out of contract probably next year. I think for me, unless he can maintain the form that he showed at times this year quite consistently next year, for me, it's probably his last year, 2021. You need someone that can play that Murphy role, right? Someone that's fleet-footed, can hit targets, can work his way through traffic, which is what Murphy's done for most of his career on the outside of stoppages. Narco might only play small forward for 1 year and learn that craft. We know he's a good midfielder, right? He might just learn the craft up forward, pinch hit in the middle. And if Murphy were to leave, you've got a player that's ready to go at 24 years of age that's shown that he can run through that midfield with breakaway speed from stoppages on the outside. So I look at it twofold. If you want to go for a permanent small forward, absolutely, there's better than Narkle out there. But if Narkle's available for a third, and you've got someone like Mark Murphy potentially retiring at the end of next year, it's a direct replacement, and he'll have 30-something games under his belt. He'll have worked on his forward craft. He can kick goals at that point. You know, he just adds another dimension to his game, and then it's like, you know what? Now you've got an opportunity to go into the midfield. Now you've got an opportunity to not just earn your spot, but to make this spot permanent for the next 5-6 years in our midfield and show us what you've got. Be that 20, 25 disposal player every week. Give us 6 inside 50s. Have 7 score involvements. Hit up targets, which is what we know you can do. But also go forward and still pinch hit for some goals. So it's not that not that he could be a project player, but he's very low risk, high reward for me if it's a third rounder, considering the attributes and the talent that he's got. There's been comments here. Brett B asked about Jack Higgins from the Tigers, you know, and someone replied, Dane Rawlings, if our recruitment team has a brain, they'll ask the question. Richmond are taking Morris Rioli Jr., who plays a small forward. So with him, Snags, Arts, Castagna, Rioli, Bolton, they can't all play, which is absolutely spot on. And I think if you're going purely for a small forward that's going to play there for the next 10 years, go for Higgins, right? But for me, Narkle offers so much more long-term. Higgins he's shown at times he can go through the middle, but it's not where he made his craft at under 18 level. He made his craft kicking goals, and it's where he made his craft and burst onto the scene in that first year at Richmond, kicking goals. So if you want a goal kicker that's going to be there for the next 10 years, go for Higgins. If you want someone that can apply their trade for a year or two as small forward and then work their way into our midfield in 2 years' time, then have some serious impact, Narkle's the player.
No, I agree with you. I see where you're coming from, but just for me, I think for me, and I agree here with Sarah. I thought she had a wonderful comment. Young kids are too unpredictable. When you change their positions, you haven't seen much of them. I think he's still very raw, is Quinton Narco, and I think we both agree with that. He's shown it in glimpses, but for me, I think we're at the stage now where we get 3 or 4 established names. Well, we're getting 2 in. I'd like to see the standard raised then. I'd like to see our average raised if we are going to go out and buy established players or we go to the draft. But for me, we'll have a look. Give it your star rating. What star rating are you giving this young Joe?
In terms of, if it's a star rating in terms of probability that it happens, probably a 3.5. Star rating for wanting it to happen, closer to 4.5 or a 5. Because, like, for me, he's like I said, he's low risk and potentially a high reward. He's got a very, very high ceiling, and being so raw, you don't know what that ceiling is yet. And long term, what he could do for the club. So, probability 3.5 for me. Pom.
I think I genuinely don't think that we're interested. I don't know why. Something just tells me that we're not interested in Narco. I don't know why. I don't know if it's a gut. I mean, one of my worries is we seem to be absolutely peppered with midfielders at the moment. Like, we seem to be solely focused on that. And 12 months ago, I think we all agreed we were in desperate need for a small forward. And, okay, Fisher's shown it in glimpses, and so has Gibbons. But I still think we're one genuine, crumbing, small forward, goal-kicking machine missing. And I think when you watch McGovern play, you watch Kerno, etc., I think, for me, that's abundantly clear that we lack a 30, 40 goal small forward that is going to live at the feet of them three big boys. And we saw how good it was when Betts was there, when he was having that like honeymoon period at Carlton when he came back. So for me, you're going to get a lot more chances with that. So for me, I just think Narco's kind of like the luxury that, for me, if I was the list manager, I don't think we are in the luxury of another experimental forward and another second waiting line midfielder. We've got 1,000 of them, Lockie O'Brien, etc. We've got 1,000 of them. Do you know what I mean? So unless we trade all them out, for me, I think we need an actual small forward in. Because to me, I think Kerno, Mackay and McGovern, when they're fit, it's the best forward line in the comp, potentially. So it needs a small. And if you look at Richmond and West Coast, they have that. So let's have a look at the star rating. I'm giving it a 2. You're giving it a 3. The audience, 2, 1.5, 3.5. I love this comment, though, by Shea. Shea saying Kemp is a LeBron. You can play him all over the ground. He is one of the only players in under 19s level to win best on ground, but best on ground in every known position on the ground. That's very hard to do. I'd say they're giving it a 2.2, Joey. So I think 2.2 from our illustrious jury means wait and see. Wait and see. And I'm trying to smash these rumours out because I want to spend 20 minutes chatting to the lovely audience. That's what I want to do on my birthday. So the final rumour we've got, and I always like to leave you with a biggie, they'll all be jelly when we sign Kelly. Now, this one is straight out of the same cupboard in which you'd find Aslan. And the Bluemour mill says, Carlton are involved with Kelly. GWS looking to go big in the off-season and utilise the uncertainty of the draft, and will look to let Kelly leave for 2 firsts. So that's obviously Josh Kelly at the old GWS Football Club. And where do you sit with this, Joey?
The part that I don't really understand there is about them utilising the uncertainty of the draft. Obviously, we know it's quite compromised with the next-gen academy picks, the father-sons, that I think will make up anywhere between 18 and 22 of the top 40 this year. It's been predicted. So it's very, very compromised at the top end, which is why I don't get that part. And that may be something you might be able to delve into, Pom, a little bit more. But for me, we've been linked with Josh Kelly for, 3 years now? Like, I think when he first came out of contract, we were linked with him heavily, that we chased him. He signed on for 2 years. Now he's out of contract again with a trigger to extend, and we've been linked to him again. So the Carlton-Kelly connection is always going to be there. Whether the thing is with this, Jeremy Cameron has already signaled his intent to leave. Williams is coming to us already. They've freed up significant cap space by doing that. And I think by doing that, their intent is to sign Kelly on a long-term deal, long term. They would have signed Kelly, Whitfield, Canelio on long-term deals, with Taranto's intent to absolutely stay at that club for his career at this point, from what we've said. That's their midfield for the next 10 years. Like, if they can get that done, they won't have to worry about ever struggling in the middle. And they've got some ripping kids coming through as well. Obviously, Jacob Hopper's there as well to help them out. Their forward line is more the issue, though, right now with Cameron leaving. You've got Riccardi, Himmelberg, and Finlayson there. And I think Finlayson probably plays the key forward role next year. Himmelberg the 2, Riccardi the 3. But like the fact that they've got two high-profile players that have already left through free agency, it frees up so much of the cap space that they're obviously under pressure with for them to be able to sign Kelly. It may not be on a 7-year deal, maybe only on another 2-year deal to extend, but I think he just stays. For me, at this stage, I can't see this happening. If Cameron had have signaled his intent to stay and this rumor came out, I'd be all over it. I would be absolutely all over it, because at that point, I can't see how they fit Kelly in the cap. Like, they are so close to bursting that bubble already that it would be almost impossible. They've signaled their intent not to match Williams, or something that I heard earlier today. I may have got that wrong, but like, with so much cap space now, it doesn't make sense that they've let him go. I think they sign him to whatever they can sign him to, hold on to a little bit longer, and then see where their list develops over the next couple of years. No doubt they'll have other players leave as well in that time. So I just can't see Kelly leaving. If he wanted to leave, he would have already left, for me.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I can't see it. Like, when I look at this rumor, it actually came from a GWS forum, this one did. It came from a Facebook GWS post of someone saying that another player will leave. And this was the result of that question. For me, I can't see it. I think that would leave a huge hole in their budget, in their list. And you can't replace these players. As for the draft, we know that I love looking at the draft. I can tell you that when you've got nearly 50% of the top 50 is academy locked, and the chances with good academy players not being bid, because the AFL have that very lenient compensation scheme where you can owe them money and you can effectively owe them draft points. No one ever not matches. It's very rare that it happens. It's usually with inconsequential picks in the 50s where teams think, well, is there any point missing out on pick 65? So for me, I can't see it happening. I can't see it happening. And to be honest, I don't think Kelly, controversial opinion, I don't think Kelly is a player we need. For me, I think we're looking for a hard-at-it inside midfielder, and I think Nick Austin feels the same. You look at the players that we've been linked with. For me, it looks like he's looking for that more inside help. And Kelly isn't really an inside midfielder. It's not where he lives. He has done it relatively well at times, but genuinely, he's more where Walsh is at the moment, on the outside, playing across half forward, roaming that way. So for me, I don't think it has much merit. And I think maybe it's just someone winding them up. But we'll have a look what you wonderful audience say.
Sorry, Pom, can we just bring up Dylan Fields' comment again, Shad, if possible?
The we get pick 11?
Yeah, that one. So we get pick 11. And so this has been posed by Dylan. So we get pick 11 and 18 from the Cats by splitting pick 7. The Cats get Cameron. And this is obviously on the proviso that GWS would match the contract. GWS would get a compensation pick, my bad. Carlton then get Kelly for, I'm assuming, pick 11, 18, as well as Paddy Dow. So you're giving up 2 first rounders and Dow, who's probably got 3rd round value at this point, right? So look, on paper, that makes sense, right? Everyone gets their way if it was a perfect world. I just don't think that the desire to give up Kelly would be there, even if those picks and Dow were on the table at this point, with the idea that they can now fit him into the cap. So this is what we're talking about. On paper, you can make it happen quite easily. I just don't think now that Cameron's left that there's a desire to let Kelly leave as well. It would be a mutiny at GWS. They'd finish bottom 4 next year. So Yeah, Pom.
I always try and look at these things as a list manager. For me, I would say GWS are in no trouble at all. It's just been a real bad season. They've been moved around pillar to post. I just think it's one of them seasons that happens. I think they've got more than enough talent with the players that they're losing to bounce back anyway. I think Cameron, although he's important, I do think Finlayson and Himmelberg particularly are going to really relish being centre of attention, where I think Cameron reminds me a little bit like Zlatan Ibrahimovic. He kind of takes over that forward line at times, where I think that Himmelberg and Finlayson, their movement complements each other. So I actually think they will progressively get better. I think Helena's hit the nail on the head. If I'm going to GWS, I'm asking for Toby Green. Like, to me, that's who I would say they've got. So for me, I think Kelly would be suicidal. Like, I think that would be literally them saying we're tanking and there's someone that they want in the draft next year that they think is superior. But for me, genuinely don't see it. I don't. Let's go through some comments. I saw a really good one here. Where is it gone? Oh, here we are. We can't. Joshua Blood. Great question. This. We can't do that trade unless you're completely confident we'll get Sard in the PSD. I'll answer the PSD question after this. This is why I'm trying to rush it through because I want to get to interact with you all. But I think he's spot on. I think that trade idea does work for GWS that we were discussing, but you would have to be sure that you'll get him in PSD. Give us a star rating, everyone. 0, not happening. 5, Kelly is in blue. And I can go and ask my wife for a Kelly shirt for Christmas. Joe, 0.
0 on this one.
His first 0.
I just can't. I can't see it happening. Not like I said. If Cameron hadn't left and they re-signed him, different story. But not now. No chance. No chance. Sorry, Pom. Before you go on, and I hope I get this right. Hussam Shatila, thank you for the donation. GWS management a couple of days ago said Kelly no chance. This year, however, they will give him that option at the end of 2021, and that's spot on. So maybe next year we can have a crack, but I doubt it. I don't think Kelly comes to the Blues at this stage, this year or next. But thank you again for the donation. Really appreciate it.
Cheers, me old mate. I'm going to give this. I reckon you've got more chance of Chris Judd lining up round 1 than you have seeing Kelly play for Carlton. I don't actually think Kelly will ever come at Carlton. I genuinely don't think so. No. So for me, I think it's a 0, hard 0. And you know I love a trade rumour, so for me to give it a 0, it makes me less of a person. But let's have a look. Again, the jury of Blue Abroad, you guys and girls are 100% with our trade rumours so far. I'm giving it probably about a 0.3. So, yeah, doesn't look good for Kelly. So what we'll do now is fire your trade questions, trade rumours. I'm going to put you guys and girls on the spot. What you guys and girls want in the club. Maybe you've got a trade rumour. Maybe you were walking the dog the other day and Dimmer told you, Carlton, we're going to sign Dustin Martin. Throw them across to us because I'd love to spend 30 minutes just chatting away. I'm going to start with this one, Joe, for you, because your mate's in this. James Smith.
Yeah.
Who would you prefer as a small forward? Quinton Narco, Eagles Cameron, Sexton from Gold Coast, or Higgins at Richmond? Who would you prefer? An audience, same question to you.
You picked out the one that I was going to pick, Pommy. So thank you very much, mate. You know me too well, Pom. We've known each other for such a short time, but you know me so well, mate. Yeah, like I said earlier, if it's a small forward, Jared Cameron for me. He's just got so much like raw ability, and I think with a year with Eddie, and then I'm assuming at this point Eddie stays on with the club past next year in some sort of capacity. I think it may have even been part of the initial pitch. Correct me if I'm wrong. But for me, Jared Cameron, go look at his first season. He had two games of 4 goals in a forward line that had Jamie Cripps, Josh Kennedy, Jack Darling. I think it was in their premiership year as well. So the kid's a freak. Like, he's got so much more to offer, and his ceiling is through it's so high you can't even see it. So I think being able to unlock that potential, which West Coast haven't been able to do because their forward line's still so stacked, They're bringing in Zach Langdon as well. He's just requested to be moved to West Coast. That's another small forward on top of Petruccelli re-signing. Jamie Cripps is still there. They've got Kennedy. They've got Darling, not small forwards, but still forward targets. You got Jake Waterman. You got Oscar Allen. Their forward line is absolutely jam-packed. So for me, if Cameron's there and he's gettable, he's barely played, he will cost you a fourth, maybe a fifth rounder at this stage if he says that he wants out, which is extremely low risk for potentially huge reward. Like this guy, not that he's going to be like his brother Charlie by any standard, too early to say, but he could, and he could be even more. I just think he's got so much class. Like he's just the way that like he's just his game awareness when the footy hits the deck is unbelievable for someone his age and for someone so inexperienced. So, James Smith, you can ask me this question 100 times, you'll get the same answer.
Well, I mean, I'd be between, and I know you love Cameron. You see, I'm a big fan, and a few people in the audience have said this. I like Sexton. I really like Sexton. Every time, I think it maybe is because when he played against Carlton, he always seemed to batter us. He just seems to have a good game against us. But I like everything he does. And I look at him particularly, not this year, the year before last, when he was working on the feet of 2 metre Peter. And let's be honest, 2 metre Peter is about as effective as a key position forward as I am. And I've played zero professional football. So for me, I just think that Sexton seems to just have something about him. He has the craft. And I also think that when you're working with Betts, he's not going to be able to reinvent the wheel. But Betts has that uncanny knack. And I did see that at training. It seems you can see the old gav around him, and Betts is constantly showing them, do this, do that. So I just think for me, Sexton's got that thing. I know he's a little bit taller than the average bear as a small forward, but he does truly play as a small forward. He's quick, he's versatile. And for me, he's got the job done. And I just like Sexton. And rumours are he is absolutely out of there. So that is coming from like Queensland media. They reckon he's gone ski. So for me, I like him. I like Sexton. So if it was me, I'd be going Sexton personally, purely because he's got the resume where he's done it. I think Cameron, for me, great ceiling. I can see it. Comes from great pedigree. But it's, again, if only. And we've got Josh Honey for if only. Do you know what I mean? What if? I'd like someone to come in who I know he's going to kick, has potential to kick 4 goals a game. Yeah, so that's just me. Maybe I'm miserable.
No, it's I think it's a brilliant take, mate. I think it's a brilliant take.
Maybe I'm miserable. Maybe I'm miserable in my old age. Now I've hit 35, proper got miserable. There's one.
Tom Mitchell. Sorry. Tommy, they want Tom Mitchell updates, mate. I'm leaving this to you.
Well, remember, all rumours on this show aren't my fabrication. I would love to sit here and make fantasy rumours, but unfortunately I don't. Now, I have been following that post with interest that was brought to me in a Hawthorn place. They are 50-50. It's basically Carlton haven't approached them, is what they're saying. And they reckon that it is on the table. It would be something that's considered. But according to Hawthorn fans that know more than me, they reckon we haven't gone in them. So I reckon, although I did a very good Photoshop job, and I might have already bought my Hawthorn to Carlton Tom Mitchell Guernsey, it may not happen, which hurts me. But I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately. But watch this space. I mean, I'd love it to happen. You know me, if we get Tom Mitchell, I'll do this show naked, probably. Like, I'll be that happy. So let's do it. I did see a good one. This is actually a good point by Rocco. Last time we won a flag, we had a Sexton, a McKay, and a Williams. Let that sink in. See, it's a sign. Sign Sexton, win the flag in 2022.
Can't argue with that. Rocco. Not at all.
So I like that for me. I think that's good. We had a good one here from Debbie. She's got a rumour for us. Dan's going to sign with Carlton Media. Shh. I don't want paying for this. I do this for love. Like, honestly, I just love talking to you guys and girls. So don't worry about it. I can unmitigate. That's an unmitigated rumor. It's not true. It's not true. I am staying here for life. You're stuck with me. There was a really good one here that I did find, and I've lost it. It is. Tell you what, someone find a route. Oh, here we are. What? Todd Panak. Why wouldn't we look at Isaac Smith for a year, like a Luke Hodge role? Kicking, running down the wing flank area into a forward line would be handy for our forwards. What do you think about that, Joe? We know that I was a big fan of Isaac Smith. I'm a believer.
No, so am I. We spoke about him a few weeks back and why we wouldn't go for him. I think he's a great fit. And he's still, while he's not young, like he's 32, he's still relatively young in his career. Like he started late. I think he's only been playing footy at AFL level for about 10 years now. I think it's his 10th or 11th season. He's won flags. He's got elite disposal going forward. I think we've even spoken about this before, Pom. I think he'd be a great addition for guys like Walsh and Williams as well now to learn how to deliver that ball inside 50 at a really high rate to some really exciting key forwards that we've got up there. So for me, if he's available, if he wants to come, absolutely. From what I'm hearing, it's Melbourne that are heavily into him at this stage, and I think they've tabled an offer of 2 or 3 years, whereas the Hawks are only really considering 2 years max to give him, which is why you haven't seen him sign yet. I've got a family friend who's a Hawk supporter, and he said, if you could pick up Smith, it'd be unbelievable because Hawk supporters know how much Smith gives to that side and how long he's been doing it for. So if he's there, absolutely. I just don't think we've got a chance of landing him at this point. I think it's more likely to be Melbourne at this stage if he does leave, which makes sense. Like Melbourne have gone down the Jordan Lewis route before, right? So they probably see the value in that with where their list is at. And Jordan Lewis, he was part of setting them up for that finals run a couple of years back. So, maybe it's Melbourne. I just don't think it's us at this stage, unfortunately, which disappoints me because it was one that me and you discussed quite heavily, Pommy, as a priority at one stage for us to go after.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, for me, I just kind of like you said, I just feel like that Melbourne have got him. I think for me, I think he's got that kind of Luke Hodge persona in the term of experience. I've watched a lot of things of him behind the scenes. Hawthorn released some wonderful media, and he's definitely got that ability to talk to people and be a mentor. But I don't think he has that ruthless edge like a Luke Hodge, who's going to be like, you win at all costs. I think he's more of a family friendly, and that's what I liked about him with our list. I don't think our list would take to a cutthroat approach because I think Teague and Fagan are two different coaches, and I think they are used to that more softly spoken, where we know what the Brisbane coaches are like. So for me, I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's Melbourne. I like the idea, though. I do like the idea, but I think now with Williams coming in, there's that extra midfielder that predominantly does play a bit more on the outside and pinch hits in the middle. So for me, you'd be getting Smith purely for that mentor role, and I'd imagine he'll be a lot more wages for someone who's just going to sit on the bench. So for me, it's enough for me at this stage, unless something happened. But I think for me, it's a great pickup for Melbourne. They lack outside run.
Absolutely. So, here's Sam. Another $5.
Another donation to Sam, mate. I wonder if this is Terry at home.
It might be actually. No, he's put us on the spot, Pom. So this is do or die. Oliver, yes or no? I'll let you start, and it's just straight yes or no.
Yes.
I'm going to agree at this point.
We've done it. I've converted him.
But there's just too much noise. There's too much noise. I think at the very least, it will come out in the off season that he has requested or that he even considered at the very least joining Carlton. And I think there'll still be discussions right up till the end of trade period. There's no one else that's into him that we know of. he sounds like he's gettable to an extent if he wants to leave. And we've got the picks and we've got the cash to be able to do it. So with all of that there, and with so much, like you say all the time, Pommy, where there's smoke, there's usually fire, right? With so much of that going on, and with our ability to actually do it, like, of course you're going to be inclined to say yes rather than no at this point.
I was saying yes because I am the king of wishful thinking. One day I'm going to get behind one of these stupid transfer rumors and somebody's going to sign. So I'm going with that philosophy. Say yes all the time, it will happen. But I think it's tough. But for me, I think imagine Oliver and Cripps together. Imagine it.
I don't want to start thinking about it because it gets me too excited, Pom.
Oh, like if Nick Austin cares about this Carlton fan here who has cried, laughed, been broken, he signs him today for me for my birthday. And I tell you what, I'll never complain again about anything. Angus Thompson, this is a good one, and it's been asked a lot over the week. What are our thoughts on the coaching situation? Do you think we need new personnel alongside Teague? Now, this is a question to all of you as well. If it's a yes, I want you to give me one coaching name and why. So over to you, Joe. What do you think? Do you think we need more people in, new people in?
Yes and no. I think it's still too early to tell. Like, Teague's only really had one season at the helm, right, with this coaching staff. So for me, it's probably a little bit too early to tell. Josh Winch here has said, what about looking at our coaching staff? Bring Diesel in for midfield coach, Luke Hodge as assistant as an upgrade on Luke Power. I think Luke Hodge makes sense. Diesel, he was Diesel for me, and I'm 26, so like I don't remember too much of the 90s, but he was my favorite player as a kid, and I remember that. Like, I've got fond memories of Diesel as like a 5-6 year old as he sort of came to the end of his time. I just think it's past him. Like, love the guy, love what he did for the club, but it's a different game. Like, it's so different. He hasn't won a flag in this era. He hasn't played in this era. It's the game itself is just completely different to what it was in the 90s. It's not as crash and bash anymore. It's so much more tactical and get to stoppages and lock the ball in the forward 50. I just don't think he'll give enough for our midfield. I think Luke Hodge as an assistant would be a good move. But I don't know what his media commitments are like at the moment. I haven't dug into that enough. If he's there and he's gettable, absolutely. That's someone that you'd look into for that leadership. Husam, you're killing it, mate. Another 10. Thank you very much. Like, that is super, super appreciative.
Yeah, well, I can see where people are coming from. For me, I bring Diesel back. I think there is no, for me, that is the name I would bring back as well. I think, yes, we do need the additional help. And I think Diesel's it. Because I think it's no surprise when Diesel left Carlton, our midfield numbers plummeted under pressure. And it's massive. If you actually look, that is the only thing we didn't improve this year. It was our ability to stop momentum shifts. And our momentum shifts, even though our pressure ratings are higher throughout 4 quarters, our 4-quarter results are better. The one thing that doesn't happen, and it happened in the second quarter, our second quarter is statistically our worst, and it was that shift. And I think, for me, when we had Diesel there, the players seemed to hit a bit more targets, hit a little bit more pressure, applied a bit more pressure, because our tackling numbers, they plummet in that area as well. And I was watching Diesel when he was training Sam Walsh when we went to go training, me and Terry. And there's something that you watch, when you watched him teach them, you could hear he was constantly pulling them to one side. You could see him moving. You could see he was instilling the confidence he had as a player into them, getting him in there. So for me, I think that's where it is. We need another midfield coach. I think we need someone to give him the next, to pass on that information. And Diesel fits the bill, doesn't he? He gets the club. We kind of all want that tick box, don't we? Yeah, has to be a blue, has to get it. So for me, I think, it makes sense. For me, it makes sense. Bring Diesel back.
I like the take. I mean, from a footy, his footy brain is obviously incredible. Like he's won Brownlows, he's won premierships, he's done it all. So from that perspective, it makes sense. And I think if he were to come in, he wouldn't be a detriment by any amount. So I'm not saying that by bringing him in, we're going to get worse. I just think that maybe there's others to look at that have played closer to this era, like a Michael Voss, which is what some people have said. Andrew Lake here has said, why don't we ask Gary Ablett the question, which if Gary's got coaching aspirations after this year and he doesn't want to stay at Geelong, like, absolutely. Like, that's probably the best footy brain in the last 25 years. So I think there's plenty there. Fev as a forward coach, yes, it's been brought up so many times. I think we do need a goal-kicking coach. You've heard the stories of Fev staying after training, going to the local park at Royal Park and kicking hundreds of balls at goal just with his own headphones on, kids going to get the ball for him and bring it back. Like, yeah, absolutely. I think if we need a kicking coach, especially for Mackay, Fev's the one. I just don't know what Fev's I know he said in the past that he'd be more than happy if the club came to him, but I feel like that the club's just not interested for some reason. So I don't know. There's plenty of names that you could look at in terms of coaching, I think.
No, 100%. And it's a tough one, isn't it? Because you don't know the dynamic. I mean, one thing I know, his name's been in the comments as well. Barker's been there for so long as well. And if I was the coach and I'd seen a bloke who's been there for 3 sackings, I'd be looking over my shoulder. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't personally want him there. Like me, if I was the coach, I'd see it as like, an omen. It would be like, being at sea and you see a mermaid, like, something bad's going to happen. So for me, I think maybe it is time to move on and maybe get someone in. I do like the idea of Fev. I know Rocco and a few others are saying Cooter. I know Cooter's got a lot on in his business world, has been one of my mates. But, I mean, I've always said this to Cooter. I'd love Cooter to come in and, especially with players like Paddy Dow, whose name's coming up all the time.
Yeah.
I'd love Cooter there because when Cooter talks about his career, he was never the most naturally talented footballer. He worked really hard on it, and he was ruthless in his training and his approach to get better, to get fitter. So for me, I think he'd be a really good influence on someone like Paddy Dow. There's a few questions here where people are putting us on the spot. So because you're my co-host, I'll throw you in the bus too. So the first one is from Blue Bagger Boys. I count on the new Lions, Pommy. No, we're the new Richmond because we're winning this flag next year, ladies and gentlemen. Brisbane are just Mickey Mouse. They make finals. We are taking it. What about you, Joe?
I'm going to say no, but I'm not going to say we're the new Richmond either, Pom. I'm going to say no. I think we are just going to be a new Carlton. I think we're going to forge our own path next year, guys. It's going to be very different to the line. No, I know you hate the soppy answers, Pom. I know. And you want me.
Are you after Dan Andrews' job after this?
You want me to just blow up and say we're going to win the flag by a quarter mile? It's not even going to be close. I can't. I think our build is very different to Richmond's build. Richmond went out, they got Neil, and they rocketed up. If we get Oliver, maybe we do rocket right up the table. Who knows? But I think if you look at the last 5 years with the Blues, it's been a very slow build, and I think we're going to continue to slowly build. And next year is just a year for finals, and I think finals is a pass mark at the very, very least. So no, unfortunately, I don't think we're the next Brisbane.
Joe's just been as soft as shit. We'll win it. Don't worry about it. And the other one was, who do I think will gain and lose? Gain and lose.
Let's do one player gained, like just to finish out, Pom. So if there was one player, so leave Williams and Sard out of it, obviously. If there's one player that we will gain and one player that we will lose, who will that be for you?
We'll definitely gain Jack Lomi.
Big. Who do we lose?
We will definitely lose Jack Silvani.
And we're not gonna let's just let that simmer because I think that's gonna fire up a lot of people, Pom. But for me, I think we definitely gain. I'm not going to say it. I think we definitely gain. No, I'll say it. I think we definitely gain Oliver. Absolutely.
Yes! We've converted him.
And I think we definitely lose Matt Kennedy.
That breaks my heart. I mean, it breaks my heart saying Jesus. The only reason I think that Jesus leaves, and I'll get you to explain why Kennedy leaves. I think Jesus leaves. I think, and we know I love Jesus. He's one of my boys. Me and Lana followed him round like lost sheep at the best and fairest. I love him. But for me, I think with all that's gone on with his dad, I think as if he's one of my kids. I reckon it's too much of an awkward position now for him to be in. The club and his dad. And if I was his agent, I would be suggesting to move for your own sanity, because he's got to be a very strong boy. And I think it's too much for me mentally to process that, because it's bad. And I want him to do well.
I'll be real quick before we finish up. I think if we do gain Oliver, Kennedy has to go. There's too many inside mids at that stage. I don't think Kennedy gets a game. So I think that was the rationale to mine. I just can't see Kennedy holding his spot if Oliver comes in, and Kennedy could be steak knives in the side deal. So that was the reasoning from me.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, this is the end of time. But we will be back next week with more riveting trade rumours. As always, if you see anything funny, anything you've got any questions about, please flick a PM across. We'll feature them on the show. But as always, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for spending my birthday with me. I love you all.
Happy birthday, Pom.
See you guys later.